Hey travelers, welcome to another episode of Traveling Through Time. In this episode, we'll discover why natural gas smells like rotten eggs. Here's a hint. It didn't always have a smell, and the reason it does now is kind of dark. Alright, let's travel all the way back to 1937 to find out what happened. 1937 was a tumultuous year, and it included events such as the one we'll talk about, as well as the Ohio River flooding, which left 1 million people homeless, the Spanish Civil War, it's still going on, and Moscow is holding trials of men accused of trying to overthrow Stalin and his regime. In a small East Texas town, life is about to change forever. New London is located in Rusk County, a few miles from Henderson, Texas, and approximately 25 miles southeast of Tyler, Texas. The town was originally known as just London, but Kimball County had already established a U.S. post office that was also named London, and so the town changed its name to New London in 1931. It takes up a little over 8 square miles, and as of the 2020 census, has a population of 1,181 people. According to the Texas State Historical Association, New London was founded in 1855 with the creation of a post office that served the area with some interruptions until 1876. The school was built a year later in 1877. New London was a mainly agricultural town from 1855 till 1930. Principal crops were cotton and corn, and farmers supplemented their income with watermelons, peaches, and tomatoes. These products were then shipped from the community depot known as Norfolk on the Henderson and Overton Branch Railroad, which was a spur of the International Great Northern, to other areas. In 1930, Columbus M. Joyner drilled the first well in the East Texas oil field a few miles from the community, making it a boomtown. Because of this new prosperity, a modern school, churches, and homes were built in the community. A year later, a new post office was established there. In 1931, Humble Oil and Refining Company moved their district headquarters to New London from Corsicana. Refineries were constructed. Oil companies provided jobs, housing, electricity, and free gas and water. They also built parks and community buildings. Nothing remained unchanged, and many landowners became wealthy. The London School expanded and consolidated with some smaller schools in the area. Life was great until Thursday, March 18, 1937. It started out as just another school day. The school building was a beautiful, modern, steel-framed, E-shaped building made of beige brick and red Spanish tile. Students were preparing for the next day's interscholastic meet in Henderson. At the gymnasium, a PTA meeting was being held. The school superintendent was working on a week-long investigation into reports of students and teachers experiencing headaches and irritated eyes in certain parts of the school. The janitors had checked for gas leaks, but none were found. They had even checked crawl spaces, and one janitor lit a match right under the gas line in order to have light to see by. Normally, school would have been released early on that day because the PTA meeting and the time required for teachers and admin to be at the meeting. However, since the interscholastic meet was the next day, the superintendent decided to give students that day off to go cheer on their classmates, and so school on this day would go till its normal dismissal time of 3:30 p.m. At around 3:17 that afternoon, Lemmy R. Butler, who taught manual training, turned on a sanding machine in an area which, unknown to him, was filled with a mixture of gas and air. Remember, at this point, it had no smell. The switch ignited the gas mixture and carried the flame into a nearly closed space beneath the building that was 253 feet long and 56 feet wide. At 3:17 p.m., the building seemed to lift in the air, and then it smashed to the ground. Walls collapsed. The roof fell in and buried its victims in a mass of brick, steel, and concrete debris. The explosion was heard 4 miles away, and it even hurled a 2-ton concrete slab 200 feet away, where it crushed a car. Within 15 minutes of the explosion, the news had been spread all over the area thanks to Western Union lines and telephones. No cell phones, so this was wildly fast for the news to spread. Because the news did spread so quickly, the Texas Rangers and Highway Patrol were dispatched by the governor within an hour to aid the area. Roughnecks from the nearby oil fields also came with heavy machinery to assist in rescue and recovery. Doctors and medical supplies came from Baylor Hospital and Scottish Rite Hospital for Crippled Children in Dallas, as well as from Nacogdoches, Wichita Falls, and the United States Army Air Corps at Barksdale Field in Shreveport. They were assisted by deputy sheriffs from Overton, Henderson, and Kilgore, by the Boy Scouts, the American Legion, the American Red Cross, the Salvation Army, and volunteers from the Humble Oil Company, Gulf Pipeline, Sinclair, and the International Great Northern Railroad. As dark approached, workers continued to sort through the rubble and floodlights were set up. Rescue operations continued through the night, even as rain fell. Within 17 hours, all victims and debris had been taken from the site. The victims were taken all over East Texas, anywhere from Overton to Arp, Henderson, Kilgore, Longview, and Tyler. Parents desperately scrambled to find their children, and families weren't necessarily kept together, so upon finding one or maybe 2 children, parents would then have to rush to other locations in hopes of finding their other children. Some victims were taken to Mother Frances Hospital in Tyler, even though the hospital had not officially opened yet. They were due to open the following day, but as a result of this disaster, the hospital canceled its elaborate dedication ceremonies to take care of the injured. Mother Frances was the first modern medical facility in East Texas. Even though that hospital wasn't set to open until the next day, 12 nuns, who would also serve as the nurses, were already there taking care of housekeeping and making sure everything was just right for that grand opening. Of the 500 students and 40 teachers in the building, approximately 298 died, and only about 130 students escaped serious injury. The heaviest casualties occurred in the junior high portion of the building, with the 6th grade class losing the most, 33 boys and 54 girls. Those who died received individual caskets, individual graves, and religious services. After the initial shock, people started to wonder how something like this could happen, and the cause of the explosion did not remain a mystery for too terribly long. 3 days after the explosion, experts were sent to the scene to get to the bottom of what happened. The investigators learned that up until January 18th of that year, the school had received its gas from the United Gas Company. To save gas expenses of $300 a month, plumbers, with the knowledge and approval of the school board and superintendent, had tapped a residue gas line of Parade Gasoline Company. Nothing was seen as wrong with this because the use of green or wet gas was a frequent money-saving practice for homes, schools, and churches in an oil-filled area. It was concluded that gas had escaped from a faulty connection and accumulated beneath the building. Again, at this time, gas had no smell, so no one knew it was accumulating beneath the building. Although, on other days, there had been evidence of leaking gas. Remember those reported headaches and eye irritation? It was just a matter of time until enough gas had built up and a spark ignited the whole thing. As a result of the disaster, Texas passed laws requiring natural gas to be mixed with a malodorant to provide early warnings of any leaks. This is why natural gas now smells like rotten eggs. Other states quickly followed. Eventually, malodorant in natural gas became a legal requirement in the United States. Donations and support poured in from around the world, and a fund was established to create a memorial to the children and teachers that died in the accident. An empty tomb was carved from granite and reaches a height of 34 feet. At the top of the structure is a circle of children and their teachers reaching out for each other. At the base of the monument, most of the names of the victims are inscribed on tablets, which are also made of granite. The school was rebuilt, and it now goes by the name West Rusk ISD, but a museum and the memorial still stand in the town of New London. If you want more information or first-hand accounts from survivors, then I highly recommend the book Gone at 317. Information on the book and sources that were used for this video can be found in the episode description. Until next time, travelers.